Shalom. Welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Dalmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service, jbiztechvalley.com, and columnist for the Jewish Press.
Yes, and you know, Rabbi, thank you. We have a very special guest with us today. We love education, we love the arts on this show, and I think the library takes in both. And so the director of the Troy Public Library, Paul Hicok, is here, and thank you very much for coming and being a guest on the Jewish View.
Well, thank you
It's
for having
appropriate
me.
to be on the Jewish View. Jewish people are the people of the book. So we
Right,
just
right.
love a lot of books over here. It's good to be educated.
How long have you been director of the Troy Public Library?
Well, quite some time, about 25 years.
Well, it's a lot.
Okay, so you
So-
started when you were very young.
Absolutely.
Okay. And how have you seen the library transform, or that library system transform say, during your time?
Well, it's really amazing to have been, I've been in the profession for quite some time.
Oh, more than 25 years.
Yes, more than
okay.
25 years. And to see the changes that have taken place and, of course, the changes that we anticipate. But, you know, one of the big changes that I think sometimes goes under the radar is the availability of materials today as opposed to what they were, you know, even 25 years ago. We have a
Materials,
single,
what, like computers or things?
right,
like
we have a
that?
single catalog for the 29 member libraries in the Albany-Rensselaer County area. So basically, when you go to your computer and you go to what is now the catalog, you're looking at, you know, a collection of nearly 1 million records.
So there's no Dewey Decimal System.
Well, yes, we still use that.
You still use that? Okay.
We still use that to find the books. Once you've discovered the title that you want, we still have to find that on the shelf. And those are still filed primarily by Dewey Decimal in most public libraries. Some public libraries have moved to almost a bookstore model of shelving books, and that's worked well in small branches, not so well in other larger situations. Of course, academic libraries always use Library of Congress system, but public libraries still stick to the Dewey Decimal System.
So 25 years ago, there wasn't the internet like we know today.
Right.
How has the internet really impacted the libraries, if it has at all?
Well, it's a fantastic resource. I mean, the library is a local resource for information. I mean, that's what we are. And the internet, of course, is really enhanced our ability to help people find and locate the information that they're looking for. So it's not only books that you're looking for, but they're looking for information. And we use the internet extensively, obviously, but the library is also able to provide access to the internet to lots of people who don't have access.
Kind of answers my question, but I mean, I have seen it, so I'm going to throw it out to you. You know, people say, what's the use for libraries now? Because, like Mark says, you have the internet, you have a computer. Maybe there should be one place in Albany and have books that if you want to read a book and they'll send it out by mail. I mean, you know, you have this idea where they're saying that libraries are a dinosaur. So I have seen people write those kind of ideas. What would you answer back?
Well, I think you do get that sometimes from some people who are not
They don't want to pay
not
the taxes
library
over here.
users.
Yeah.
I think the book collection is still very much used in all of our member libraries. Circulation of books is still very high in the area. So books aren't going anywhere, not anytime soon.
Yeah, no, that's what some people would say. I mean, how many years ago was e-books? So, there goes, there's not going to, that's the new
Or
trend.
the Kindle, and you have it
Kindle,
on,
But
And-
we of course have access to ebooks, and that's another thing through a cooperative effort. All 29 libraries share a single collection of ebooks and audiobooks, and that has increased substantially. For example, our circulation of ebooks last year jumped up like 30%. So that's one area that is
You
it's
can
new.
get that at home? Can you get an ebook
Yeah.
at home? You
Oh,
don't
yeah.
even have to go to the
Yeah.
library,
Right.
really.
So you're,
But it's not the only thing. I mean, it's still a relatively small portion of our circulation. It's not.
Yeah, that's what someone told me. It really, people thought at first, oh, this is it, no
Right.
more books.
Right.
And it really didn't take off. I mean, maybe it took off. It's an increase, but it's not, like you say, replacing the written word.
and you've embraced the technological part of it
Oh,
in
absolutely.
Troy Library. You
Right.
haven't fought against it, you've embraced it.
No, as a matter of fact, libraries are almost pioneers in computer technology. Libraries were among the first organizations to use an automated system for the circulation process. Circulating books is maybe not as easy as it sounds. Not only, in a store, you sell a book, it's gone. Our books, we circulate them, they come back. So the actual keeping of records and that sort of thing
And
is
what's
pretty complicated.
what's the system that you're under? Is it the overall library system? Is it
It's in the 29
No,
libraries.
yeah, what's it called?
Well,
What's the name of it?
The
I
Upper
forgot.
Hudson Library
Upper Hudson,
System, right.
okay.
The
And that
state is
goes-
divided into systems.
Right. So that goes. So what's the catchment area for the Upper Hudson?
Just Rensselaer and Albany County. Just the
Oh.
two counties.
Oh, that's not much of an Upper Hudson. I thought it went
Well,
up to Glens Falls or something. I thought.
No, it does go by population because in that area, is a significant, what is the population of two counties would be, well, significant.
Less than 2 million. I mean, Albany County is about 1 million population.
Yeah,
That many?
300. No, maybe it's
That's a lot.
no 300,000.
Yeah.
Albany.
right, 300,000.
So
Rensselaer County.
Rensselaer County is probably 200,000.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 500,000.
So half a million
total.
for
That's
two
right.
counties.
Yeah.
And you have, some fairly sparse counties that group together in 4 and 5 different counties for systems as well.
So has the foot traffic you have a Lansingburg branch and you have the main branch, which is downtown Troy.
Right.
And has the foot traffic, do you monitor that? Has that increased over the past year or 5 years?
It has increased over the last 10 years. There are variations from year to year. For example, we were down a little bit last year in foot traffic, but not significantly. Our main library is busy all the time.
It is, okay. Do you have programs for the kids? Do you have
We
puppet
have
shows?
programs.
Do you do-
Matter of fact, the programs have increased in numbers of people who have participated in the last year by about 20%. And libraries, again, that's part of the change I think that's taking place in libraries. Obviously books for us and material is still important, but libraries are being viewed more as community centers, community resources. We have programming that not only we offer, but members of the community offer.
Right.
It's one of the things we struggle with at our libraries because both of our facilities are over 100 years old. The main library was built in 1897 as a 19th century library. Well, we're already into the 21st century. So it's a struggle, to provide 21st century library service in that building.
I mean, computer outlets, would you say? I mean, what would be the issue? I mean, a nice building with bookshelves or bookshelves on one hand, but I would only think would be the computers.
We have basically about 25 public access computers.
Yeah.
That's for the public
Yeah.
to use.
Talking about, I'm talking about money, that the budget, and you said it was decreased. It's very difficult money. I know Troy in general, but now it's on an upsurge. And I would, again, I don't know, I'm just asking the demographics, it's like the yuppies, people, the young people, professionals are moving in. That's what I hear. Mark can back me up. He's our news reporter. But I'm just saying those people would want a nicer library. Maybe you have more of a earth swell of, hey, like 100 years old, library, young people with kids. Hey, a library is a very big resource. I mean, I live in Delmer, Bethlehem, and that's one of the major things, schools and libraries. That's what they want. Safety, of course, but, that's one of the things. So maybe you're getting a little bit of a feeling. I'm asking. like from young people saying,
Yeah,
hey,
we-
let's do something with these libraries. It's old hat, it's old fashioned. Maybe build a new library. May they have the money, may they don't. I don't know.
Well, Albany had enough money to rebuild
Yeah.
their library system.
Right,
Modernize it,
right.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I'm
you know,
asking.
that's one of the things that happens. We became a district library in 2010. And once you actually establish the district, the second order of business is to take a look at your facilities. And when we do, the board right now is really struggling with those questions. What do we do with a couple of facilities that are well over 100 years old?
But you know what? There's a sentimental value. There's a sentimentality to those old buildings. I mean, they're not crumbling.
No, well,
And they don't build them like they used to. You know.
well, that's true, and we our building, particularly in the main library building, is pretty unusual actually for the area. It's sort of an Italian style palace.
Yeah.
Is really what it is. But again, we've just done a study of the building, an existing facility study that was conducted by an architectural firm. And just the repairs alone on that building that really, really need to be done, you're looking a little over $3 million.
And
You're
that's
talking
the
about-
main branch.
That's just the
downtown
branch,
Toronto.
yeah.
Is that
that's just the main
structural, or like I'm saying, putting in computer outlets and?
No, this
that'll
would
like
be,
energy
this would be
efficiency, I'm sure,
repairs to
yeah.
the roof area, to
Right.
the parapet areas,
Can practically buy a new building.
to
though,
the
right?
to the
Not really.
outside of the building.
Really.
These are repairs that once they're done, you would be $3 million. You
Yeah.
wouldn't notice any difference
Right.
inside the building.
Well, which is why, elected officials build new bridges and don't paint bridges.
Right.
Because they want to, no one notices a painted bridge,
Right.
but everyone does a ribbon cutting for a new bridge, and then you can say, oh, they have the photo op,
So-
and
it's like-
people give. I mean, we did this with a Torah project in Albany. We needed Torahs repaired, and I said, well, no one gives to funds for repairing a Torah, but if you write a new Torah, you're going to get enough money to not only to pay for that new Torah, but to repair all the other 9 Torahs that needed to
Right.
be repaired. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Because people want to see at least new vibrancy, but also to historically to preserve what's already there.
Yeah,
So-
and I think that was part of the board's thinking in tackling this plan, because we also asked the same architectural firm for how can we change the inside of the building to be more like a 21st century library? How do we have more space for meetings? How do we have more space for computers? How do we do that? And they came up with that plan. So
Okay.
we do have that going forward.
And the Troy Historical Society didn't get hysterical?
No, there's lots of people who, and this is my sort of problem. I love old buildings, but I'm not in the preservation business.
No, you're
it's
not.
not what I do.
Right.
And my business and my concern is providing public library service to the community. And the building sometimes stands in the way of that. And so we looked at it, and we've been struggling with, but that plan combined with the necessary repairs is about $7.5 million.
Yeah, okay.
So, but at least with that, you're able to offer something to people that really,
They could see a difference.
yeah,
And then when you bond it out over 30 years, that $7 million is negligible.
yeah, that's true.
Relatively speaking, over all the people that you serve. I mean, it's just probably pennies on the tax rolls.
No, it's
Yeah.
true. That's the only way actually you could finance
Right, you
something
have
like
to
that
bond
is through
it. Yeah,
bonding.
right.
And our bonds would have to be approved by the
By the
people,
voters.
just as our budget is every year.
So what's your budget now for the library? $1 million? Is it?
It's a little over $1 million. The tax levy itself is $973,000. That's the bulk of the money.
How many
Addition-
employees?
What?
How many employees in the 2 places?
We only have, full-time equivalent, I only have about 14 full-time equivalent positions. We have about 20, 21 people,
Are you open?
because some people are part-time.
Are you open 7 days a week or?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Just last year, we opened Sundays, so we can offer Sundays 1 to 5.
That's good for the Orthodox Jewish community. That's very good.
Absolutely. We try to serve everyone in the community.
Okay, that's very good. We got to tell Rabbi Labor and Morrison, Label Morrison about that.
Right. Right.
Are you connected in Jewish community at all? Do you do programming for?
We
Jewish
do,
community?
of course, when we have the opportunity. I can't think of anything right offhand. It
'Cause
was
over the
interesting
past-
because I grew up in Troy originally. I spent a number of years away, but I grew up in Troy. I went to school 18. And of course, that Sikaway area has a large Jewish community. So a lot of people I knew growing up
We're Jewish.
were, yeah.
And how old are you? I mean, may I ask? Or
I just turned 70.
oh, you don't look it at all. Okay, well, there you go. Mazel tov. That's good. We say may you live to be 120, so you got another 50 years to go.
Absolutely.
So that's terrific. So you're not planning on retiring anytime soon, are you?
Well, I have no, I don't have any immediate plans. You know, I don't have to lift a lot of heavy things, so.
That's good.
And I don't know, retiring, you know, my wife tells me that there's no word in the Jewish language for retirement.
Right, there isn't.
So there's,
That's
yeah.
right.
So I mean, what is this retirement? What does that mean? You know, what do you do?
What do? You're right. You learn. You keep
Yeah,
learning.
right.
Well, that's what I say, Jewish people, did you read every book in the library? You know, so there's what to do over here.
Yeah, there's still
something
some
to-
left, so I got,
Yeah, you got something to read.
right.
And now the makeup of your board. How many people are on the library board?
The
And-
library board has 7 people elected from the community. That is by legislation. I mean,
Yeah.
district libraries are established by legislation.
Okay.
And of course, we have 7 elected people. And those people, of course, have to be residents of the city. Our service area is the city of Troy, the boundaries of the city of Troy.
Exactly, and that includes many. I mean, the city of Troy is broken up into 6 or 7 neighborhoods, like
At least,
upper
yeah.
Central or Central. I mean, they
Right.
gave them these generic terms, except Lansingburg and Sickaway. You know, they have
Right, they have
real
names. Well,
names,
Albia, there's also Albia, which was a name that's sort of near where RPI is.
and then there's Little Italy.
The Little Italy area was sort of borders South Troy. South
Right.
Troy is further south.
Well, and then you have Lansingburg, which is North Troy.
North Troy.
How does the crime in Lansingburg impact the library branch that's there?
Well, we've been concerned, but really so far we really have not been impacted.
No broken windows and
No,
stuff, nothing like that.
we haven't seen any vandalism and
No fights in the
No,
branch. No. Okay.
I think, you know,
Gangs don't read books, or no.
it might be stemming
Hanging
from
around.
people have a certain respect for libraries, and it's sort of the same way in the downtown area. I mean, the library borders on the South Troy area, so it's not completely like a downtown central venue, but. We've been fortunate not to have to deal with a lot of issues. I mean, we deal with some, obviously. It's a public space, so you get all kinds of, interesting things can happen.
Right, and that's why I'm asking, because I didn't know if you had a story to tell or something about how you.
Well, like I said, we have some concerns. We have some concerns with security. We've had some recent problems with drugs, and so on. But I think, again, there hasn't been issues like of violence and so on that you often see on the streets.
So on the board, the president of your board is Evelyn Katz-Greenstein.
Right.
And what's she like? Is she the typical librarian type that we?
No, not
Think
really.
of,
I wouldn't describe it that way. She's very enthusiastic. When she began, her first term was 3 years ago. She really set out to find out as much as she could about the library and you know how she could help us and.
Because she had no real library experience. before.
Not that I know of. No,
Right, I know.
she was not a librarian, and our former board member had been a librarian, so she had some library experience. But Evelyn sat down and you know she's also been involved in our outreach committee, and she's done a lot of we have once a month we go down to the farmers market, have a table, and hand out registration forms for cards and all kinds of information, and she's been active in that.
Well, that's terrific. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll have her on the show also.
Absolutely.
Okay. What is the? Do you get people telling you that that what they pay in terms of the library tax is too much, too onerous? Is it's rolled in with the property tax maybe? I'm not sure. School tax maybe? I'm not, you know.
Yeah, it's basically a property tax
Okay.
that is collected by the city.
Right. So people don't really know what they're paying in terms of a library
It
tax?
is a line on their
Yeah.
tax bill, so they do know what they're paying. I have not heard a lot of objections to what that tax levy is. It's
The only
relatively
reason
small.
Troy has a big tax bill, usually they say people are complaining, but I guess it's so inclusive that they don't even,
Well,
No,
like I
it's
said,
not.
Well, when
it's
you look at it-
relatively small. You'd be looking at $25, $30
A year?
a year.
Really?
it's very small.
Yeah, it's
Which,
relatively
which
small.
hurts you when you want to increase it because everyone says then it's a percentage increase. And then if you have a small number, it's a large, if you wanted to go to $50, they would say, wow, it's doubling it, but $50 is small too.
No, I know.
It's
I
a whole
know.
number, you know.
Well, the problem comes in with the atmosphere set by the 2% tax cap legislation.
Mhm.
And everybody now feels like it should be 2% or less anytime you go on the ballot now. And if it's not, then there's a lot of noise, you know, a lot of objection if you're over that tax cap.
I know in Albany, and I'm pretty sure it's Troy also, that if you're under the 2%, you don't need to have a hearing on the budget, or you don't have to have a vote on the budget, a separate vote. But if it's over 2%, you do? Is there something?
No, we need to have our budget approved if there's any increase or decrease.
It has to go before the voters?
Yeah, that has to go before the voters. With the tax cap, if you're under the tax cap, then the board doesn't have to vote to exceed the tax cap.
Right,
If you want to exceed the tax cap, your board has to vote
right.
on that issue before it goes to the voters.
Okay,
And so you have to have a 3/4, of the board has to approve
the
The
overage of
yeah,
2%.
to go
yeah.
over the 2%. It's a little difficult for special legislative district libraries because we don't really find out our formula till close to, September really. And by that time, we already have a budget, that's out. In our case, this past year, the tax cap would have been closer to 1%. Because there wasn't any real increase in cost of living and that sort of thing. And with the formula that the Comptroller's Office used, we would have been just close to 1%. We were actually went on the ballot with a budget of 1.9%. So we kept within the spirit
Of the 2%.
of the
cap.
2%, but not the fact of the 2%, not
Right,
the
right.
actual. But our board did pass an override resolution.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Well, there you go. You got to pay the bills somehow, right?
Well, yeah, I tell people that, since our budget is relatively small, 2% of a small number is a small number,
That's what I was just saying. Yeah.
So,
You don't get very far.
no,
When you start low, you don't get very far.
it's an increment. For us, that 2% increase, not 1.9% increase, was about $18,000. And running a library
Hard,
today,
that's hardly
don't
a
even
salary.
notice.
Yeah, you don't even notice it. What do you see as the future coming up for the Troy Library? Do you see another branch opening? Do you see anything besides the facilities being upgraded?
Well, there's some options that I think the board is considering. We're also have been there's quite a lot of development going on in Troy, and I think there's some possibilities for a library and partnering with developers who got existing projects or future projects. So there might be some real possibilities there. We're looking at our own main library building. It's still kind of a question as to whether that's the best space for a library. I mean, obviously, nobody is contemplating, doing away with the building, but maybe it has a different use than what we've been doing for the past 100 years.
You think it's coming up to being a square peg, a round peg in a square hole or something? Or
yeah.
Square peg.
We don't have any parking, and of course, people, we're not offering enough
Where is
branches.
the library? I don't even know if I'm familiar.
Right on
with
2nd Street in downtown Troy.
That's right downtown.
What's the cross
Yeah.
street? Second and one.
Well, the cross street is Ferry Street, but there's a tunnel there.
Right.
And
That's
really,
Russell Sage Tunnel.
Russell
right.
Sage College is there across the street, and the courthouse is right next door.
So they're not too far from
Beth
Beth
Tefillah
Tefillah Synagogue, yeah.
Right.
Misty is
Yeah.
right near.
No, that's a block and a half over.
Well, that's fine. That's near. I mean,
Right.
we're not
Right.
talking a mile and a half. We're done a block and a half.
Yeah. So that's it's a good location in many respects, but on the other hand, there's just not only is we don't have any parking, but the county kind of takes up parking and Sage takes up parking. So the street parking in the area is a little difficult.
Right.
So it's very hard to pull up within a couple of blocks of the actual library. So that's one of the considerations, going forward. I mean, after 100 years, we have to bow to the automobile culture a little bit.
Yeah.
But nobody's pulling up with horse and buggies.
Not that we remember any of that.
Yeah, right. So I think that's one of the things that's possible. We're looking for space. I mean, libraries, when they were first built in this country, they were envisioned as monuments.
Well, like banks. After the Depression, banks
Banks
were
were
supposed to be monuments to show stability,
Right.
to show that they're not going anywhere. Now you have a bank, and it's like a corner grocery store size of a corner grocery store, convenience store with a drive-through, and it doesn't take much to, they don't even have chairs for the tellers in some of them. They just have these stanchions that just stay behind. And so the same thing, libraries don't need to be these huge granite and marble edifices. So.
Yeah, I mean, we like them. And of course, monumental construction is always, attractive. But it's very difficult to work with. What libraries need, really, what modern libraries need is a large, open, flexible space.
Yep.
You hate to say it, but what we need is like a grocery store building.
Yeah.
That would give us, the space to change things, to offer space to the community, to move things around. I think, I say that books are still important, but book collections are not getting bigger; they're actually getting smaller. We're
Because of
not-
less money allotted to buy books?
Well, no. With the advent of ebooks and with the advent of the internet, the hardcover, the regular book, we don't need as many of them. We're looking at, several years ago, we figured out a collection of 87,000 volumes is what we had. What we would be really planning for in the future is more like 50,000 volumes.
Really downside. But I
Yeah.
know I don't go to Troy Library, but every time I just look at, like you say, on the internet or their catalog, the computer catalog, it must be 1 out of 10 that my own library has the book. But I don't know, it's I'll wait 2 days till they get it, it's not a problem. But I says, well, that's, like I say, everybody should have one book, duplicating resources, because really you say you have 87 or 50,000 books, but if people can pull on, I don't know how many books times, like you say 29 libraries, so you really have over 1 million books
Yeah, I
you're
think
really pulling from.
libraries, of course, we often talk about, cooperative purchasing so that we don't
Yeah.
duplicate too much. I think that's happening much more with the ebook collection that we have. We're looking, since it is a cooperative collection, we're looking at not trying to duplicate too much, so we have more, more broader collection.
All right.
Well, Paul, we're having such a good time. I should have asked you to recommend a good book. But in any case, the Bible for me is, any case, that's the bestseller. In any case, you're doing good work so many years. Keep it up. You're looking young, and you have a lot of success ahead of you. So keep on rolling and doing good work for the people of Troy, and do it with good health.
Continued
Well, I
success.
thank you.
Yes.